Hi.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dog, Cat, Fox, and Friend. He's DogCatFox. Wowie, wow, wow. And I'm the friend. Hope you're all doing well on this beautiful Saturday afternoon. Well, beautiful in the sense that it's not completely pitch black out, but it's been oddly not stormy, and yet the power has been flickering here for the last hour or so here and there. So hopefully I'll be here for the show. If suddenly everything goes blank and it's just this background and the music playing in perpetuity for the next 12 hours, apologies, but we'll go as we go. The show must go on. Also, apologize for the false start of the opening. I hit the thumbnail for the opening video for my 9th anniversary opener is the same as the DogCatFox one. I don't know why that is. It just decided to use that as the thumbnail, and so I thought I was clicking this show's intro, but I was about to replay the 9th anniversary stream's intro, which would have been a little odd. So I fixed it. It's been fixed. Everything's fine. For now. Anyway, who's joining me on this beautiful Saturday afternoon? The Alexander. Good afternoon, and both Alex on X. Yes, I am simulcasting on X for reasons that I'm still not quite sure of. I don't know what the utility is to it, except variety, I guess. Funtime Bats, hello. Blue-Eyed Scream, good afternoon. Shady Grin, hello. Keeverdam, hello. And thank you, Keeverdam, for providing, as always, the link to the Leukemia Lymphoma Society donation page. Guys, that's pinned to the top of the chat box. If you have the opportunity, please take a look at that. If you can donate, please do so. But even if you can't, if you can share that out on social media, that would be appreciated. So thank you ahead of time for that. And thank you, Keeverdam, for providing the link. Who else is here? Jay Blizza, good afternoon. And Simon Willikins, hello. Unfair Ophelia, hello. Seftus Wolf, good afternoon. Resolute Germ, hello. Morgan King, hello. Slipnotic 06. Took me a second. I always have to remind myself. Apologies. Anybody else? Oh, Mike Savage, blarg. Captain JPS, hello. Green Death, hello. Plague Trucker Zach, good afternoon. Darren M, good afternoon. And I think, Attack Alpaca, good afternoon. And I think that's everybody. If I missed you, if you're lurking, if you're in the future, good afternoon. So we have stories. Lots of stories. Let's start off with the deadly Doritos. Yeah, this is a thing that happened because, you know, I'm reminded, I haven't read the story yet, but I read the headline. I'm reminded of an incident that I believe took place, this is many, many, many years ago, but it was sometime within the first year or thereabouts of the Columbine massacre. And some third grader or something at some elementary school took a chicken nugget and pointed it at another kid and went like bang. And because of a zero tolerance policy at the school, that kid was suspended or expelled or something. It was stupid. And apparently we've returned to that, but in a different way. Student handcuffed after Doritos bag mistaken for a gun by school's AI security system. Armed police handcuffed and searched a student at a high school in Baltimore County, Maryland this week after an AI-driven security system flagged the teen's empty bag of chips as a possible firearm. You ever see Casino? There's that one part where the cops shoot a guy down and like, he was holding a gun. That's not a gun. That's a hero sandwich. Baltimore County officials are now calling for a review of how Kenwood High School uses the AI gun detection system. When did this show up? And why the teen ended up in handcuffs despite school safety officials quickly determining there was no weapon. Quote, they made me get on my knees, put my hands behind my back, and cuffed me, Kenwood student Taki Allen told CNN affiliate WBAL, describing what happened Monday evening when police arrived at the school while he was waiting with friends for a ride home after football practice. Quote, "They searched me and they figured out I had nothing. Then they went over to where I was standing and found a bag of chips on the floor," Allen said. He described a distressing scene with a heavy police presence. Quote, "The first thing I was wondering was I about to die? Because they had a gun pointed at me," Allen told WBAL, saying about, quote, 8 cop cars pulled up to the school. Quote, "I was just holding a Doritos bag. It was 2 hands and 1 finger out, and they said it looked like a gun." The AI-powered security system at the school is just one example of how schools are approaching safety in the age of mass gun violence. AI tools have exploded in popularity in recent years, including tools to help monitor surveillance footage. How's that working out for you? CNN reached out to Baltimore County Police Department for comment. The department told WBAL officers responded to a, quote, report of a suspicious person with a weapon, but determined the person was unarmed after a search. Kenwood Principal Kate Smith said the school district security department reviewed and canceled the gun detection alert after confirming there was no weapon, according to a statement sent to parents that was shared with CNN. And yet the cop showed up, pointed a gun at this kid, and handcuffed him. Smith said she reported the matter to Kenwood's school resource officer, who called local police for support. I must be confused about the chain of events here. The principal didn't immediately realize the alert had been canceled, a spokesperson for Baltimore County Public Schools told WBAL. Wait. Let me read that. Let me try to figure this out again. Kenwood Principal Kate Smith said the school district security department. Okay, so the security department reviewed it and said there was no problem and they canceled it. But somehow that information did not get back to the principal, who then reported to the resource officer, who then called the cops. What is the point of having a security department that does not communicate with school staff and officials? Quote, "We understand how upsetting this was for the individual that was searched." You mean had a gun held to him? As well as the other students who witnessed the incident, Smith said in the statement. Quote, "Please know that ensuring the safety of our students and school community is one of our highest priorities." I can get deferring to, erring on the side of caution. But good gravy. OmniAlert, the company that operates the AI gun detection system, expressed regret over the incident and emphasized that its system is designed to identify a possible threat and elevate it to human review. So who made the decision to say, we have detected a gun? Was it the system? Or was it the security department? Do they have it on such a, pardon the pun, hair trigger that there's no difference between the two? Quote, "We regret that this incident occurred and wish to convey our concern to the student and wider community affected by the events that followed," the company told CNN. Quote, "While the object was later determined not to be a firearm, the process functioned as intended to prioritize safety and awareness through rapid human verification," the company. Okay. How does a bag of Doritos equal possible gun? The AI gun detection system has been used in Baltimore County Public Schools since 2023, analyzing video from the school's existing security cameras, Superintendent Miriam Rogers said during a news conference Wednesday. Rogers called Monday's incident, quote, "truly unfortunate," and said the district never wants to put any of its students in such a frightening situation. But you did. The heavy-handed response to the false alarm has sparked outrage in the community, with Allen's grandfather, Lamont Davis, demanding accountability. I'm not sure what can be done at that point. I mean, he was just effectively in custody for a brief moment and then out, and like I say, I can understand, especially given the events of the last several months, or several years if you want to think about it, like I say, erring on the side of caution. But man, as soon as it's like Is there a gun? No. Was it a Doritos bag? Yes. And really the problem exists with the communication between the security department and the principal and everybody else. The chain of information and communication obviously needs a review there. Baltimore County officials say they want a review of the process that led to Monday's police response. Yes, okay. So there you go. Be careful in Baltimore County schools. All that in a bag of chips could get you arrested, I guess. Gen T Maxi, good afternoon. Green Death. And here I thought it was going to be a story about how the bag popped in the kid's bag or in his hands and made people freak out enough to get the cops called. Not this. No. It was a metallic device in the rough shape of a whip, 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 whip. And then everybody's going, yeah. Advocates Diaboli, he is just lucky he didn't have Pringles. Oh, man. Then they'd be detecting a bazooka. Bazooka detected. Yeah, so the system needs some tweaking, particularly the human element. But there you go. So there's the dangerous Doritos of Baltimore County. Oh yeah, I wanted to try something here. The StreamYard tells me, StreamYard, which just gave me its yearly charge of ridiculous amount of money. Last year they doubled the subscription price for the basic plan without much warning, if any at all. If you didn't know to look into a particular email that didn't just look like a regular email, you wouldn't have known. And then suddenly it's like, oh, it was going to cost, this service has cost you $240 for the last 4 or 5 years. Now it's going to cost $435 because to hell with you. Yeah. But anyway, so that being said, they have apparently updated the on-screen comment section. I don't know if this is better or worse than it was before. They said there's been improvements made, so maybe. But I'll leave it there, just for reference purposes. What else? Oh. I have all these other little doodads and things. Sure. There we go. I'll start acting like a real streamer. So what I need is like the comment section over here, right? And I need to have the Chiron going on in the bottom. What I don't have is like some kind of like follower count or something up at the top here. Maybe they'll add that later. Or maybe I can like fake it with an overlay. Ooh, there's an idea. I could fake it with an overlay. And I need to have a cute animal back here. Although DogCatFox does not wear a collar, by the way. Just for future reference, DogCatFox is not in need of any kind of external training. DogCatFox is well behaved and can roam as he pleases. Anyway, I'm not referencing anything in particular. I'm just, whatever. Anyway, let's stay in school for another story. Let's go to this one from the Daily Mail. She was a respected Teacher of the Year finalist until she lost everything when Charlie Kirk was killed. Now she's out for revenge. Oh my God. She lost everything when Charlie Kirk was killed. Was this Charlie Kirk's wife? Was this Charlie Kirk's sister? I mean, when Charlie Kirk was killed, she lost everything? What is her connection to Charlie Kirk? How could Charlie Kirk's death lead to her losing everything? A respected Georgia teacher, once honored as a Teacher of the Year finalist, is suing her school district after she was placed on indefinite leave for comments she made on social media about the assassination of conservative commentator Charlie Kirk. Oh. Charlie Kirk dies, she loses everything. Oh, no. There was a couple of steps in between. just a couple of extra steps in between one event to the other. Michelle Mickens, 55, taught English at the Oglethorpe County High School before posting about Kirk on her private Facebook account hours after the shooting. Hate to tell you this, Facebook's not private. If your friends and relations can read your stuff, it's not private. Kirk, 31, the founder of the right-wing group Turning Point USA, was gunned down at Utah Valley University in Orem, Utah on September 10th in what authorities described as a politically motivated attack. Just description. It's just, we're not quite sure, but it's described as such. Police have charged Tyler Robinson, 22, of Utah with aggravated murder. Okay, I understand that. Okay, this is about Robertson. Kirk was shot. Yeah, according to court records, Robinson, Kirk's death, the killing. Okay. So we spend a good chunk of the article not mentioning the teacher again. She's mentioned in the first 2 paragraphs, and then we get about half a page of not irrelevant, but still not on point information about the case itself. This is our teacher, apparently. Lawmakers and okay, let's see. Hold on. Okay, the killing also ignited a fierce online backlash, with hardened liberals celebrating his death and posting mocking memes. That doesn't sound like backlash. That sounds like endorsement. I mean, backlash to the event would be, that's terrible, the person who did that is a monster, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That's not online backlash. That's online celebration. That's online endorsement. Lawmakers and advocacy groups denounced the post as abhorrent. Celebrating a political assassination in the United States, I'd say that's morally repugnant, at least. Warning that they reflected the toxic polarization consuming American political life. Mickens, the 2022 Teacher of the Year finalist who has taught more than 20 years, which says nothing. We're getting back to my argument when it comes to identitarianism, identity politics. I've taught school for 20 years. Badly. Just like, what? So, 20 years of what? Anyway, is now suing the Oglethorpe County school system, claiming it urged her to resign and violated her First and 14th Amendment rights. Mickens said in the complaint that her private out-of-the-workplace comments, quote, did not harm her employer or disrupt her workplace, unquote, according to court documents viewed by Daily Mail. I have a feeling, and I could be mistaken, I don't know how contracts work in all school districts, but I have a feeling that there is some kind of morals clause or the ability of a school district to terminate someone's employment for cause, stated or unstated. I'm guessing. Her Facebook post quoted a remark Kirk had once made about gun violence. Quote, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our God-given rights, unquote. Yeah, I've seen many people use that quote as like, oh, well, see, he was asking for it, or he didn't mind it, or this is something that he just should have expected. Except that any activity that involves potential danger, death, or harm, but is something that is mundane, you just have to accept a certain level of risk. The constant comparison is driving, right? Like if I rephrase it this way, I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some car accident deaths every single year so that we can have the ability to transport ourselves via automobile. Right? It's that they kept using that as some kind of endorsement or some kind of justification in celebration of his death. It makes no sense. Never made any sense, doesn't make any sense now. Now, is that alone fireable for quoting him? I don't think so. Is that all she said, though? The lawsuit says Mickens engaged in a brief back and forth with friends online criticizing Kirk, but condemning political violence. She wrote, quote, I don't condone violence of any kind. and I certainly don't condone this. But he was a horrible person, a fascist full of hate for anyone who was different. While I'm sad we live in a country where gun violence is an epidemic, the world is a bit safer without him. I don't condone violence of any kind, and I certainly don't condone this. But it's not a bad thing that he got shot and killed. I'm just saying. Yeah. The next day, she was called to the principal's office and told the school had received a complaint. Mickens later discovered that a former classmate had shared screenshots of her post on X, urging users to contact the principal and demand her removal. It's not a private Facebook. You have made a public declaration, a public statement. Sorry. Quote, Mickens claims Charlie Kirk was a fascist full of hate, and the world is a bit safer without him. The viral post read, let Principal Bill Sampson know what you think of letting someone like her teaching children. According to the complaint, the school told Mickens it did not want her to return. Now again, I don't know what the contract details were for her, but I have a distinct feeling that it was completely within the school district's right to let her go. Mickens, who only joined the Oglethorpe County school system in 2024. Oh, so she was only there for a year? Oh, she's been teaching for 20 years, but she was only in the school system for a year. Has taught for more than 2 decades and had never received a complaint throughout her career. Okay? I mean, it's like, I have a perfectly clean record. This is the first time I ran over a baby with my car. Jeez Louise. She had earned 2 positive formal evaluations since joining the district, according to the filing. And I'm not comparing running over a baby with a car with, endorsing someone's death online. I'm just saying that, when it comes to the proportionality of things, like never having a complaint before and then, I endorse political assassination, mostly. Yeah. The lawsuit also states that the school had already found a replacement teacher for her class before she was formally told not to return. A move her lawyers say shows administrators had made up their minds before any review took place. Well, I mean, they're called substitute teachers. They have them all the time. It's probably just a stopgap while things were... Anyway, heaven forfend. The filing says Mickens maintains 2 separate Facebook accounts, one professional and one private. It wasn't private. Members of the public had access to it. There's nothing private about it. And that's not a violation of your 14th Amendment. You let other people read it from outside. You are putting stuff online of your own volition. And so if she's going to try to use that as a violation of the 14th, or the, you say the 14th or the 4th Amendment? Hold on. I may have misread, or I'm misremembering now. Let me see. It says, yeah, but it means First and 14th Amendment. Okay, 14th. So equal protection and First Amendment. Well, they didn't stop you from saying what you said. They didn't prevent you. You put it out in the public. Anyway, let's see. The filing says Mickens maintains two separate... one professional, one private, and that the personal page does not include any students, parents, or school employees except for close friends. Yeah, close friends like a classmate that was willing to take what appeared on their Facebook feed and repost it. Her attorneys argued that the district has no clear social media policy governing teachers' off-duty speech, and that she was unfairly punished while other staff were allowed to express pro-Kirk views on camp. Slight difference here. Extolling the virtues of an individual is decidedly different than tacitly endorsing that person's murder after it's happened. Well, why didn't they get into trouble? Why are you making me get into trouble for, celebrating this person being shot to death? I mean, they're talking about him in positive tones. Why aren't they being punished? Quote, while Miss Mickens has been on leave, other district employees who expressed pro-Charlie Kirk views were not disciplined for their expressive conduct, the complaint states. Were any of those pro-Charlie Kirk views an endorsement or celebration of political assassination or someone's murder? I mean, if the answer's no, the filing claims that some teachers wore pro-Kirk t-shirts at school, participated in memorial events marking his birthday, and displayed shirts emblazoned with the word freedom and Christian crosses in his honor. Obviously, all of those actions come to the same level as he deserved to die. Or the world is a better place without him. I don't condone violence, but... Her lawyer, Michael Tafelsky, said in a statement that Mickens was, quote, being targeted not because she violated any policy or harmed students, but because her personal views, expressed outside the classroom, don't align with those in power. Yes, her views do not align with those of her employer. Quote, this unconstitutional censorship of protected speech. Her speech was not censored in any way, shape, or form. It's not like she posted this and the school contacted Facebook and told them, take this post down. This unconstitutional censorship of protected speech endangers a healthy democracy, Tafelsky added. We look forward to defending Ms. Mickens to ensure she can continue serving her students without fear of politically motivated retaliation. Mickens is seeking reinstatement, removal of disciplinary references from her record, and unspecified damages for lost wages, emotional distress, and reputational harm. I know who damaged your reputation. I mean, I'm willing to be hired out as a private eye on this one. I'll ask for some money up front before I give you my answer and do my whole Hercule Poirot routine in a room full of people. But poor lady. Yeah, the student's parents stupid. What? Are we talking about the same story? The fact that she was teaching for 20 years is kind of scary. Teaching what? And teaching how well? Oh, she was a Teacher of the Year finalist. You know who also was a Teacher of the Year finalist, purportedly? That guy in Iowa who they made superintendent of schools or whatever and turned out to be an illegal immigrant who'd been lying about his resume and everything else for the last 20 years. I don't know. People say things. Let's see. What am I missing? Oh, it's Mr. Black. He sees me. Oh, notice me, senpai. Please, here I am. I'm here. Everybody, if you don't know about Mr. Black or One Crime TV, formerly The Disturbing Truth, look up One Crime TV on the YouTube channel. The YouTube machine. I first found Mr. Black... I'm probably dating myself. It was, and he probably knows better, it was the Richard Hochul documentary he did. So this is quite a while back on Disturbing Truth. And guys, I do not mince words when I say the quality, production value, and I've interviewed Mr. Black before. If you guys have seen Living on Borrowed Crime, interviewing Mr. Black previously, you know some of this already, but in case you don't, the production quality and time and research and everything that he puts into his projects is top tier. I mean, so much so that Law and Crime Network bought his channel after a long and circuitous chain of events. And now he's back doing his own documentaries again, and he's got projects galore. He just had his 100,000 subscriber stream, which, because of technical difficulties, I was unable to attend directly, much to my chagrin. But he's got a lot of irons in the fire right now. So if you like true crime or are curious about true crime, you really can't do better than One Crime TV and Mr. Black over on his channel. So check that out if you haven't already. And Huckle, a long time ago. Yeah, great stuff. Let's see. Being the fifth wheel at dinner sucks. I'll assume yes. I'll assume yes. And I'm anti-momster, 100%. Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, you know, in years past, I abstractly knew about some of the terrible things that can happen with parents and children and adopted or foster and so on and so forth. Not until Misery Machine, maybe, who doesn't focus exclusively, but a lot of times on things. You're talking about, no killer sip. Oh yeah, no. Guys, there's a lot of styles of true crime out there. There's sort of a Joe Friday, just the facts ma'am kind of thing, which is fine. There's some conversational things, kind of, keeping it light-ish, sort of like That Chapter, if you know that chapter. And then there's like true crime with a vengeance. And Mr. Black is decidedly in that category because, does not celebrate, soften, or sugarcoat the offenders in the situation. And as many ethical true crime channels do, he takes plenty of time to profile the people who actually are the victims. And those are, well, the victims, and not, glorify or celebrate the perpetrators. So anyway, this has been your unsolicited One Crime TV advertisement and endorsement. And since we're doing advertisements and endorsements here, might as well. This is my friend Satsu, aka Chef Tyrone, founder, owner, and CEO of Oishi Fried Chicken LLC, featuring a new line of signature spice mixes. Chef Tyrone's homemade blends are the perfect gateway to delicious fried chicken or any other protein you might prefer. These recipes were painstakingly tested in Tyrone's home kitchen to bring you all the fantastic flavors you and your family can enjoy. The current flavor lineup includes original, spicy, lemon garlic herb, barbecue rub, and taco seasoning. You can buy individual packs of your favorite flavors or save some money with a variety bundle, all through the online store. And Oishi Fried Chicken ships nationwide. Go to www.oishifc.com and order today. And just as a note, those are not sponsorships or anything. This is just because Mr. Black and Satsu are my friends. There you go. I do occasionally nice things for my friends. Let's see. Well, anyway, what I see up here? Frosted Guys. DogCatFox wears a shock collar, but it powers him up like when Godzilla gets nuked. No. DogCatFox is his own person. I need not prod him to do things. He already knows. He knows his place. I've made sure of it. Anyway, let's move on to something else, shall we? How about, speaking of pets, cats, dog-cat foxes or the like, how about an island full of cats? Sounds like a single lady's paradise, doesn't it? Cyprus has a cat problem. One feline for every resident. 2 girls for every boy. Nicosia, Cyprus. The island of cats has a cat problem. Officials in Cyprus, the small island nation in the eastern corner of the Mediterranean, the reliable Mediterranean, estimate there's roughly 1 feral cat for every one of its 1 million inhabitants, though activists contend the actual population is hundreds of thousands higher. In late September, the island's parliamentary committee. I thought paramilitary. Uh-oh, what are they going to do to these cats? Parliamentary Committee on the Environment was told that an existing sterilization program is too limited to contain the burgeoning cat population. Obviously, the residents of Cyprus did not watch enough. What am I thinking of all of a sudden? Oh, The Price is Right. That's what I'm thinking of. Bob Barker telling everybody to spay and neuter your cats. Obviously, Cyprus needs The Price is Right. Quote, "It's a good program, but it needs to expand," said Environment Commissioner Antonia Theodosou, noting that the program conducts only about 2,000 sterilizations annually on a budget of just 100,000 euros, $170,000. The island of cats only has 117 grand in budget for sterilization. Wow, okay. While there's no official comparative data, Theodosou said Cyprus has gained a reputation for having a cat population that is exceptionally large relative to its human inhabitants. I think it's a well-deserved reputation. Change might be on the way, but funding alone won't solve Cyprus's cat problem. Appearing to heed calls for more funding, Environment Minister Maria Panayotou announced on October 4th, World Animal Day, that the government would raise cat sterilization funding to 300,000 euros annually. The decision was hailed as a significant step forward. However, Charalambos Theambetumtu, chairman of the Parliamentary Environment Committee, warned against relying on money alone. "There has to be a plan," he said. "We can't just go ahead with sterilizations without having a plan," he said. A plan is just a list of things that don't happen. Given cats' predatory nature, a large population not only has the potential to wreak havoc with the island's ecosystem, but it could cause undue suffering for feral felines roaming car-choked streets in search of food and shelter. The population is already large. They're telling us that there's at least one cat for every resident or more. So that ship has sailed. Cyprus has a long history as a cat-loving nation where cat food dispensaries and clusters of tiny houses are a regular sight along popular footpaths. 2 decades ago, French archaeologists unearthed what they believed to be the earliest evidence of a domesticated cat in a 9,500-year-old Neolithic village. They found the bones of a cat close to the skeletal remains of a human, suggesting that they were buried together. According to this long history of human-feline connection, adding to this long history of a human-feline connection is the 4th century legend of Saint Helen, who, after finding the true cross in the Holy Lands, brought over a couple of boatloads of cats to deal with a snake infestation. A monastery that serves as a feline safe haven, St. Nicholas of the Cats, still exists today. With tourism a key economic driver for Cyprus, the island's cats have become a major attraction for the millions of vacationers who descend on the island every year. The well-fed felines are a common sight, often seen feasting on leftovers provided by visitors at a plethora of restaurants where they like to hang out. In fact, it's gotten so bad that the country's national anthem is Cat Scratch Fever by Ted Nugent. I made up that last part, but it sounds about right. So there you go. Cats, cats, cats. Cats everywhere. So if you're a cat lover, there's plenty to choose from in Cyprus, I guess. Uncle Ted, the Nuge. I always thought that Ted Nugent was like the stuff that was like in candy bars, but that's nougat. I didn't know the difference when I was a kid. I heard nougat, Nugent. I thought they were kissing cousins or something. Oh well. Blue-eyed Scream. I wonder if the cat passed first or its owner. I'm as a cat lover and animal friend to animals, I hope it was the cat first, because if they just buried the person with the cat after they died, sounds a bit unfortunate for the cat, potentially. Mike R. Hello. Hoot Owl says, politicians said we need to address this, right? Meow. Thank you, Hoot Owl. Appreciate it. Frost Glass. Eventually there'll be a communist revolution and Chairman Meow will take power. I invited this. I really did. My apologies. I'm apologizing to myself because, I have to deal with it. Anyway, that's the cat story. Let's move on to a different kind of cat. Yes? No? I don't know. Kamala Harris. It has been a while since I've done a Kamala Harris story. If you did not know, I have a playlist on my channel called The Chaos of Kamala Harris that I was tracking her progress long before she became a presidential candidate for the second time. Because it's just a fascinating career path for her up until the point where she became the presidential nominee for the Democrats last year. It was just last year. But she's still in the news. Humiliated Kamala Harris's excruciating reaction as she's told Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has a better chance of being president than her as she hints at running again. Oh boy. Former Vice President Kamala Harris has hinted she may make another bid for the White House. Well, she's hinted at that for the last, pretty much since she lost the last election. She's been hinting at doing it again. So that's not news. After she hinted that she may run for governor of California and then kept hinting and wasting everybody's time and making donors and other political machinery sit and wait for her to decide, and then she decided not to. Harris, who lost out to Donald Trump last November, told the BBC that she would possibly be commander-in-chief one day. Well, I could possibly be commander-in-chief one day. Possibly. The possibility is pretty low, but it's greater than 0%. So, does the BBC want to interview me? And I'm talking about the British Broadcasting Corporation, for clarification. The Democrat said, quote, "I'm not done. I've not decided yet what I will do in the future beyond what I'm doing right now," unquote. Well, me too. The heck? I'm 2 steps away from being president already. Harris also dismissed polls that put her as an outsider for the White House in 2028 behind former WWE wrestler turned actor, arguable, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. She added, quote, "I think there are all kinds of polls that will tell you a variety of things. I've never listened to polls. If I listened to polls, I would not have run for my first office or my second office, and I certainly wouldn't be sitting here in this interview." I've never listened to polls. Hold on, one moment. Pardon me. I don't know. I think if you run for president, you kind of have to pay attention to the polls. Anyway, according to the prediction market Polymarket, just another gambling site effectively, The Rock currently has a 3% chance of being the next president. Harris is ranked below him with 2%. Not even double digits. And I know it's Polymarket. We're not talking about, well, let's be honest, the polling industry over the last, 2 or 3 presidential cycles has not had a really good track record. But 2 versus 3%. Harris trails President Trump's daughter, Ivanka, and other Democrats, including California Governor Gavin Newsom and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. You're behind AOC. You're behind Trump's daughter. Where does she sit next to J.D. Vance right now? Harris was ridiculed for the interview almost immediately after it went live on social media, as she should be. Quote, "Please let this be true. She will guarantee a JD victory," one commented, referring to her Republican successor JD Vance, who is leading prediction markets. Okay, so he's in the lead. It's just that she falls behind even Ivanka. Another added, "Ha ha ha, I didn't know she did comedy." She's not joking. She just is a joke. One person said, "Repeating the same thing over and over and expecting different results, definition of insanity." Quote, "Never won a primary election and never will. She's done and incompetent to boot," another person posted. It's true. It's true. She's now a twice failed presidential candidate. She never won a primary or received the endorsement of her party in eventually becoming the nominee. She had a $40 million plus war chest in her 2019 campaign that she completely evaporated. And not even her own state backed her when it came to the 2019-2020 primaries. Not even California wanted her to be president. And yet she was selected to be vice president. Now, I've talked about this at length. If you want to hear more about that, playlist on my channel, The Chaos of Kamala Harris. Let's see. Donald Trump beat Harris in all 7 swing states after she took over the top of the ticket from President Joe Biden in late July last year. Since then, she has kept a remarkably low profile until she kicked off a media campaign to promote her new book, 107 Days, which charts her failed election bid. I would better recommend a book called Fight. It's done by the same people that did the Hillary Clinton Shattered book covering her campaign. I think it's a much more clear-eyed take on events. I wouldn't trust a book written by Kamala Harris on covering her own campaign. Speaking in July with talk show host Stephen Colbert, Harris appeared to shy away from running for president again. Quote, "No, I don't want to go back in the system. I think it's broken," unquote, she said in her first interview since losing to Trump. And yet she hasn't decided what she's going to do yet. And I don't pay attention to polls. Okay. Harris added, "I always believed that as fragile as our democracy is, it isn't, our systems would be strong enough to defend our most fundamental principles. They did. Donald Trump won an election, both the electoral and the popular vote. And there was nothing wrong with the 2020 election, right, Kamala? Despite January 6th, everything proceeded apace. So what are you talking about?" I think, quote, this is her again, "I think right now that they're not as strong as they need to be. I want to travel the country. I want to listen to people. I want to talk with people. I don't want it to be transactional where I'm asking for their vote." So you're just going to walk the earth like Caine from Kung Fu and not have any part in political life again? While on the campaign trail last year, she frequently warned what another term for Trump would look like. Ooh, what did she say? She told the BBC, quote, "He said he would weaponize the Department of Justice, and he has done exactly that." No less or more than Joe Biden did, and not that I'm endorsing weaponizing the Department of Justice, but good gravy, guys. What goes around? Quote, "You look at what has happened in terms of how he has weaponized, for example, federal agencies going around after political satirists." Tell me again, Kamala, about your administration, the Biden-Harris administration, telling Facebook whose accounts to shut down, pressuring YouTube what channels to either shut off or demonetize. Tell us all about taking down the New York Post story about Hunter Biden. Tell us about all of the weaponizing the DOJ on behalf of Biden. Wasn't Donald Trump arrested? Weren't a whole bunch of people associated with Donald Trump brought up on charges? No. We didn't do anything. No. It's all them. They're the bad guys. We're the good guys. You look at what has happened in terms of how he's... his skin is so thin, he couldn't endure criticism from a joke and attempted to shut down an entire media organization in the process. Her comment about political satirists referring to the suspension of comic Jimmy Kimmel by ABC after he made comment about the killing of Charlie Kirk. Okay, I've talked about this before. I wish Brendan Carr had just kept his entire mouth shut in the course of that. But unfortunately, what happened was you had Pam Bondi coming out and saying that they were going to start going after people who promoted hate speech. And then within a week, Brendan Carr was making aspersions to taking official action against ABC and their broadcasting licenses and everything else in regards to Jimmy Kimmel. So, as I've said before, the appearance of impropriety and the knock-on effect from what Pam Bondi said was completely uncalled for, unprofessional, and doesn't help anybody or anything. Even if the decision to suspend Kimmel was ultimately ABC's and ABC's alone, and even if ABC received pressure from the broadcasters or the station managers or whatever, that's an internal matter. The federal government, embodied by Brendan Carr, should have stayed out of it and let it run its course unless or until there was reason for the FCC to step in. His comments, as far as I'm concerned, were completely unwarranted, unprofessional, and honestly, I think Brendan Carr should either be censured or removed for those things. Because again, either we have a hands-off to freedom of expression in this country from the federal government, or we don't. And in my mind, not even the appearance of impropriety, pressure, sidewise, or because even if Brendan Carr didn't call up ABC and say, "Hey, Bob Iger, you need to take this guy off the air," he made a public statement, a public threat of action by the FCC if certain things didn't happen. Still ticks me off. They don't get a pass just because they're Republicans or something. Harris also pointed the finger at business leaders and other institutes for enabling Trump. You served underneath a brainless zombie for 4 years and did and said nothing. You were part of the inner circle that propped up a corpse as president. We were effectively living under a mausolocracy, a necocracy or something, for 4 years. And you want to complain about institutions enabling Trump? You enabled a non-president for 4 years. Anyway, that's Kamala Harris for you. What can I tell you? Unfortunately, FC does have that power. Yeah. Plague Trucker Zach. I agree. Carr should have shut the fuck. Yeah, Brendan Carr. You see, this is the problem. When you are in a position of authority like that, when you're head of an agency like that, your words matter. It's sort of like if you're the chairman of the Fed. Okay, I mean, you might be an individual person, but for all intents and purposes, your public comments while serving in that role are the words of the office, are the words of the hand with the power. And so Brendan Carr, like I say, he should have waited to see how ABC handled it, and then whether or not circumstances justified FCC involvement or intervention. He should not have gone on the air before anything had been finalized or anything that happened and started making threats from the chair of the FCC. When you assume a role like that in government, to a certain extent, you stop being an individual and you start embodying the office. You're not just you anymore for the time that you're serving in that role. But anyway, I could go on. But why bother? I've said it before. So let's move on. Okay, I got 2 stories left. Which one do I do? Okay, I'm going to do this one just because I don't remember why I put it on my list. I sent this to myself 2 weeks ago or something. It just said article. Just a reminder, just article. And there was something about it at that time that I felt like I wanted to read on the air. So it's now a self-endorsed mystery box to me. Let's find out. It could be stupid. Probably is. This comes from Dutch News, because I don't know. Dutch nationality plan is a desperate act of political bravado. I really am reading this effectively for the first time. I don't know what a Dutch nationality plan is. Let's see. In any democratic society, immigration law is an outlier. What? Normally, the people directly affected by laws should have a say in how they are made. Okay, now I think I know why I made a note about this article. In the first 2 sentences. Right, so, you know, guys, when it comes to deciding how murderers should be punished, obviously the people to consult are murderers. How would you like to be punished? Murderer? We're making a law about punishing murder. Oh, we're making a law about political embezzlement. Okay, but immigration and naturalization laws are different, writes lawyer Jeremy Bierbach. Yeah, because immigration and naturalization laws are about defending a country's sovereignty and defining the difference between a legal citizen or resident and an illegal immigrant. And the people who are not members of the citizenry or legal residency, they're not part of the country. By definition, immigration and naturalization laws only directly affect the very persons who can't vote. Or define how someone could become someone who could vote, but sure. So wait, should non-citizens, is this person arguing that non-citizens should be able to vote on laws in a country they don't belong to? Every democracy can therefore be said to be a dictatorship in a sense when it comes to the foreigners in its midst. Okay, I was right to keep a note on this article. That is, at least, if one's concept of democracy is limited to putting a ballot in a box every so many years. Okay, is there a mistranslation here? Was this originally in Dutch and it just got translated into English, like bass-ackwards or something? Panic when the Dutch news article appeared last Monday with the headline, "Cabinet to make 10 years the new residency standard to go Dutch." So it's like a 10-year minimum residency or something. It was a matter of seconds before the phone at my law firm began ringing and my email box started filling with panicked questions from clients and others. The dictator named They had struck again, as in they're going to change the rules for becoming Dutch. You mean the elected officials of the Dutch government are changing the... Admittedly, I am not familiar in any particular way with the Dutch system of government, but I have a feeling that that is both their right and prerogative to do. Again, this is the author talking, who I'm assuming is the lawyer here. I would have welcomed more critical coverage, a hard-hitting analysis questioning the actual feasibility of turning that proposal, parenthetical, just a proposal for a bill to be introduced to Parliament, mind you, into actual law in the books. The actual feasibility. Well, what's the current minimum time frame? I mean, I'm guessing 10 years is a longer period of time than whatever it is right now. Otherwise, what would the complaint be? For let it be said, this proposal is a craven and desperate act of political bravado. It's a burnt bun out of the oven of the remaining two parties in a lame duck caretaker cabinet representing exactly 20.66% of the seats in the lower house of Parliament. Both parties are on a course to lose even more seats in the October 29th election, and they'll do anything to stop the slide. Okay, we're getting far, far away from your chain of logic on who should be allowed to vote on laws, Mr. Lawyer Guy. As many commentators are writing in the Dutch language press, the upcoming election is not a traditional battle between left versus right. It's a tug-of-war between those parties who support the democratic rule of law, which is apparently what they're doing by making a proposal for a change to the law, but you somehow don't like that, versus those who are against it, with the previously mainstream VVD, sounds like something you go to the clinic for, having thrown in its lot with the latter camp. The Netherlands has historically been high in the rankings for democratic rule of law. Well, it sounds like they're going through a democratic process. They made a proposal for a change to the law on immigration rules, and it's just a proposal that still needs to go through the process. Am I missing something here? The Netherlands has historically been high in the rankings for democratic rule of law. One value of this, as represented in the Constitution, is that the elected majority does not rule absolutely. It passes laws that try to take everyone's interest into account. Yeah, but I'm sure that the interests, first and foremost, go to the residents, citizens, and legal inhabitants of the country, and to see to the national security and national interest. I mean, everyone's interests does not count for people that don't live in the country or are not there legally. The cabinet doesn't present a bill to Parliament until it has obtained the advice of entities with experience and expertise. What, so they have to go interview a bunch of illegal immigrants before they change the law on immigration and naturalization? Is that your complaint? What? There's a long legislative procedure with plenty of debate and proposed amendments, but the Dutch parties of the hard right, including the VVD and the BBB, would prefer as narrow as possible a definition of democracy, believing a bare parliamentary majority to be enough to try to ram laws through while paying no heed to advice and debate. What are you talking about? These politicians of the right must be pleased as punch that by merely proposing a bill that would make ordinary migrants' lives more difficult, they've already led migrants to believe that it is an inevitability, indeed that there is already a dictatorship in place that could change the rules unilaterally. Okay, well, someone's lack of understanding of the political process does not create a new reality. So, what is it that you're complaining about? And by the way, this kind of thing happens all the time. We have seen people, politicians and elsewise, make proposals of laws that get big headlines like, politicians considering bill to make Doritos illegal in schools. Right? Because one Yahoo senator somewhere wrote up a bill and put it before, or put it into process. It won't pass, but yeah, it gets that, politician some attention for a minute, or it underlines some issue of theirs that gets a headline for a day or two. Okay, I guess my question is, what is wrong with a 10-year minimum residency or something or whatever before you can achieve citizenship or whatever it is? You still haven't said what's the problem. Okay, so that's it. You're just arguing that them simply submitting a bill to revise immigration and naturalization laws to, again, I'm assuming, extending the minimum time in the country to 10 years versus whatever it is now, that in and of itself is some kind of major offense to scare people. Well, so what if it is? What if it is? What if it is to put illegal immigrants on notice that we're paying attention? Or people who are trying to abuse the immigration system? There's nothing wrong with that. It's a democracy. They're going through the process. And you don't seem to, the author seemingly doesn't have an understanding about how democracy works or who should be able to vote on laws. Anyway, I don't understand it. Pip Bin! Olaha. Olaha. Olaha? Hello? Faithless. Are their lives really more difficult if they have to wait longer to gain citizenship? Yeah, well, I mean, the author did not address what exactly is the problem. What's the current minimum standard or minimum period of time? Is it 3 years, 5 years, 7 years? What is it? I don't know. Kiro Soldier, thank you so much. Find the story about AI thinking Doritos is a bomb. Find the story. You mean the one I read at the top of the show? And it wasn't a bomb, it was a gun. The AI program, the camera identified the bag of Doritos as a gun. Kiro Soldier, I did that. Oh, you were late. Okay, well, that story was covered. You'd have to rewind. So go back in time. 88 miles per hour, 1.21 gigawatts. Got you covered. So yeah, thank you for the donation. Let's see. Hoodell, I thought the Dutch had an orange republic. No orange peels, no vote. I could believe it. The most I know about the Dutch is that they like riding bikes and they are crazy about fireworks. Any excuse in the world to light off a bunch of fireworks, the Dutch are there. That's mostly what I know about the Dutch. And I guess they like pickled herring. Oh, admittedly, I do have, my parents got this for me from a trip they went on many, many years ago. I got a mug that says Amsterdam on it. Agua. Wasser. Windmills. Yeah, they have windmills. And tulips. Tulips and windmills. Yeah. Okay. One more story. One that is, well, it's close to my heart. My heart. In a way. Have I told you I'm a fan of Vampire the Masquerade? Just not modern Vampire the Masquerade? Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2's biggest mistake is being called Bloodlines 2. It's true. Now, full disclosure, I have not purchased Bloodlines 2. I have not played Bloodlines 2. I have, however, attempted, and I underscore the word attempted, to watch a playthrough of Bloodlines 2 on the excellent playthrough channel MK Ice and Fire, who does regular, long play, no commentaries on big games, sometimes not big games. Because if I'm curious about a game, I don't feel like spending money on it. MK Ice and Fire gives me a good idea of whether or not it's worthwhile. Now, you might say to yourself, well, hell, if you watch the whole game, why ever play it? Not so. I have watched playthroughs of several different role-playing games that I then got very excited to play. The biggest one of note from the distant past was Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas. I had played the old Fallout games back in the olden days, but I really didn't get into the first-person shooter Fallout games until kind of late in the game, let's say. No pun intended, but I'll take it. But from watching specifically Mini a True Nerd, who did a whole bunch of fun runs of like kill everything or pacifist runs and everything, just because of the amount of options you had in those games to build your character and side quests and things. And also from Rycon Roleplays, watching him go through a whole bunch of playthroughs of Fallout and stuff. I got excited to play Fallout. I got excited to buy the games, download them, mod them, the whole 9 yards. So simply watching someone playing a role-playing game, in my mind, if it's a good role-playing game, if it offers the kind of options that I think a good RPG should, doesn't dissuade me from conceivably buying it in the future. This? No. I have tried to watch the playthrough of Bloodlines 2, and I am not kidding when I say that in an upright sitting position, I fell asleep. A good, at least as far as the footage that I've seen, a good third of the time, the person running the channel or the playthrough is having to speed up the footage because of all the wandering around you have to do in that game. And then when you finally do start talking to characters, it feels a lot more like Fallout 4 than it does Bloodlines 1. You are forced to play as a character in the course of the game. Not your character, as much as it is your character, because it's not really your character, but as a different character. And he's like your Sam Spade detective guy. It's like if Nick Valentine from Fallout 4 was the main character you were forced to play as. And it just doesn't feel like the World of Darkness. It doesn't feel like Vampire the Masquerade. Anyway, I'll read a little bit of this. The World of Darkness tabletop RPG, the wider setting for Vampire the Masquerade, has a concept of a true name, a magical essential identity that captures the base nature of its bearer. What I posit to you is that the true name of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is not Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. It's, I don't know, Vampire the Masquerade Sleepless in Seattle or something. All I know is that it's definitely not Bloodlines, and slapping that name on the Chinese Rooms game was a mistake. That's what I thought. But not just now, but when the game was first announced. This goes into some deep Vampire the Masquerade lore. But when the game was first announced, the idea was you would play as a Thin Blood. A Thin Blood in Vampire the Masquerade lore is a vampire that is so far down on the chain of potency of the blood that they're almost effectively just a human, a damn fear, if you will. And the problem with that is, in the lore of Vampire the Masquerade, the more diluted the bloodlines become, the more likely it is that Gehenna will occur. And Gehenna is literally the end of the world, or at least the end of the world for all vampires, when their elders will arise from their torpor and feast upon all of their progeny until they're all wiped out. So when you come across a Thin Blood in the world of Vampire the Masquerade, your first instinct should be to eliminate such things, because they are portents of doomsday. And yet that was the original idea for Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, is that you would play as a Thin Blood who would operate freely in, apparently the setting was the same then, the city of Seattle, and interact with other vampires in the hierarchy of the Camarilla, who would eventually take a liking to you, and you could eventually be adopted by one of the vampiric clans, which makes no sense in any meaningful way. It was a terrible idea then. And so when I heard that that fell through and somebody else had taken over, I thought, oh, maybe they'll fix that. And instead, the people that took over the storyline said, no, you're not going to be some thin blood. You're going to be an elder. You're going to start at the top of the food chain. You're going to be a 400-plus-year-old elder who just wakes up and already has super-duper powers and has to rediscover why they're there and what's going on. And your name is going to be set. You can't pick your own character's name. The voice will be set. It'll be pre-recorded lines. The character options are going to be male and female, except we're not going to use the words male and female. We're just going to show male and female faces because we're trying to be modern. And also the outfits and the body shape of the character are going to be so generic and so 2x4 flat and androgynous that it effectively doesn't matter what outfit you're wearing. They all look bad. And the entire story is going to be as linear as an iron rod with some alternate endings that only come about if you make a couple of decisions in the last couple moments of the game. This should have been called Vampire the Masquerade, Sleepless in Seattle, or The Nomad, or something. Anything than Bloodlines. Bloodlines suggests something that this game simply does not possess. A range of options, a depth of storytelling and characterization, a freedom of movement and choice that is not reflective in any way, shape, or form in this game. And it really upsets me. I mean, not like I'm crying my eyes out upsets me, but okay. The social justice warriors overtook the people running the game line for Vampire the Masquerade several years ago. That's when the 5th edition of the core book came out, and they made several changes to the lore, to the clans, softening certain things. It was something I was like, I'm glad I never have to touch that. Vampire the Masquerade peaked, as far as I'm concerned, at the 3rd edition of the book. But though at best, or at worst maybe, depending on how you look at it, at the 20th anniversary edition of the rule book. That's when they took everything from past publications that was worthwhile, cleaned up some of the systems, altered some things for the sake to try to make it less, make it future-proof in a way, and then was just done with it. And that was like, great. Okay, this is the omnibus. This is all you need. If you get a copy of Vampire the Masquerade 20th Anniversary Edition, you're done. That's all you need. And then 5th edition came out and was just like, we know better what to do with this lore than what was established previously. Yeah, we're going to combine this, and we're going to ignore this, and we're going to make that happen. And obviously, the name and reference to this particular group is offensive, so we're going to change it and make it better. And no. And so even though I know this game and anything that's come out for Vampire the Masquerade in the years since has been based around that rule set and that change in lore, if the Bloodlines game had actually been a Bloodlines game, I might have been tempted to get it just because of the proverbial pedigree, but not here. Not here. And it really just underscores how far that franchise has fallen, just like so many others. Star Wars, Doctor Who, Star Trek, Marvel now, and so on. But the fortunate thing is, if you have a copy of 3rd edition, if you have a copy of the 20th Anniversary Edition, you can just ignore all that crap and run a game that is set in what I consider to be the best of the lore and everything that it needed to be. So, anyway, I don't know what there's anything else to say about it. I just wanted to bring it up because the game finally released in the last week or so, and it was everything that I anticipated it would be. Really shame. Real shame. Gilcado. But yeah, the game was supposed to be an RPG, and it's really not an RPG. It had no character building, etc. Just picking locks on skill tree. You can't even wield a weapon. You use telekinesis to lift up guns and use them for a couple seconds, but it's all first-person melee, like hand-to-hand combat for the most part. Here was the biggest red flag. I mean, aside from the fact of the storyline as I knew it before the release, and you may have seen something about this, and I think I mentioned it earlier in a different stream. They had originally paywalled clan options in the game. You had to pay on top of the price of the game, which was something like what, $50 or $60 or something. You had to pay an extra 10 or 15 bucks or something to unlock 2 other clans to play as. Even though your appearance is effectively static, your voice is static, your name is static, your background is semi-static, and the power sets don't even match up. Like, I could go on. It goes on forever. But in a game whose predecessor, and they named it Bloodlines 2, so it's completely fair to compare it to the first game. Anybody who says otherwise doesn't know what they're talking about. If you call a game the sequel to a previous game, then comparisons to the first game are completely legitimate. In the first game, you could pick from any of the major clans. They were all there, including the Malkavians, the Nosferatu, the Gangrel, the Ventrue, the Brujah, Toreador, Tremere. All 7 of the big clans. The 7 major clans were there. In this game, you get 4. You get 4 clans. Or is it 5 now? Is it 5 now? Let's see, what is it? You get... oh, wait, no, that's right. The Assamites, which aren't the Assamites anymore because that's offensive or something. So you get the Assamites, the La Sombra. I have never liked the idea that they changed the lore to where the La Sombra are now part of the Camarilla. The La Sombra are individual rogue La Sombra, sure. But the clan writ large makes no sense. So yeah, you got the Assamites, the La Sombra, the Brujah, the Toreador, the Tremere. And am I missing somebody? I don't think I'm missing anybody. It's like 5... Is it 5 clans? I think it's 5 clans. Something like that. But you can't play as the most fun clans to play as in the first game, in many people's opinions. The Malkavian, the Nosferatu, and you can't play as the Gangrel. The Malkavians were fun to play in the first game because they had some of the most ridiculous dialogue options. Had interactions with things in the world that no other clan could. Because of the Malkavian clan curse. The Nosferatu were fun to play as because of the challenge. The Nosferatu can't interact with people normally because they are perpetually hideous. They don't look human. And so they're walking masquerade breaches. And so that made how you play the game a little bit more strategic and tactical. It's like, where can you go? And you have to hide from people. And there was more of a focus on stealth and finding ways around things rather than direct interaction with people because of the extra danger. Can't play as those 2 clans in this game. In fact, I think part of the reason is because they didn't want to put the power of Obfuscate in the game. And the Malkavians and the Nosferatu naturally have Obfuscate as part of their power sets. And they changed other things anyway. So you take a game whose predecessor, from the jump, you could pick from any of the 7 clans and define for yourself their background, their attitude, and everything else. And then you take away a bunch of clans and you paywall 2 of the clans. And they got all the way through up until like a month from release with that in mind. Like, oh yeah, we're going to paywall these 2 clans in a game called Bloodlines, sequel to the first game. Yeah, we're going to ask you for extra money so you can play as 2 extra clans. So the fact that they got that far into development and marketing for the thing with that in there before, like, oh, sorry guys, we didn't know there'd be such a bad reaction. how could you not have known there was going to be a bad reaction to that? I mean, thankfully, they changed their minds and they unpaywalled the 2 extra clans. So if you buy the base game, you get access to all the clans. Well, thanks, guys. But clan choice is, as far as I can tell, effectively irrelevant for the sake of the game. And especially the Lasombra one, that one I don't understand at all. If you are a 400-year-old Lasombra and you've been asleep for 100 years, you weren't part of the Camarilla. You operate in absolute antithetical philosophy from the Camarilla. So if you wake up in a Camarilla city and somebody tells you, oh yeah, the Lasombra are part of the Camarilla now, you go like, no. And if you find a Lasombra in the city who says they're part of the Camarilla, you know, and by the way, I'm going to start my own pack and embrace some new people into starting our own little subsect of the Sabbat in this town. And I'm also going to get in contact with my old friends from the Sabbat who are probably still alive in Toronto and where else they moved into? They moved into New York at that point. Anyway, I don't know what the lore is. 0 cents at all. 0 cents. I know, I'm a total nerd on this. I'm a total nerd, but it's absolutely true. Swirly, sounds like something a cat would be afflicted with. Gangrel? Obfuscate? I don't know. Could be anything. Old guy, I'd meet anyone from chat. Blue-eyed Scream 76, I'm traveling back to Seattle on Saturday. Are you guys having a meetup? I obviously missed something. The whole point of neo-Marxism is to destroy the past. The game was fated. Yeah, the people that took over the running the game line. I mean, I'm sure I know I'm not the first one to notice this. You notice how that sickly neon pink purple color ends up on everything these days that has become modernized, whether it's the logo for Dragon Age Veilguard or the cover to 5th Ed Vampire the Masquerade or a billion other things. It's almost turned into, just as a reflex Pavlovian response to me, makes me suspect of what's going on if I see that pink purple neon color embossed on everything or part of a title or whatever. It's just like, why? Who made that choice? The cyberpunk color? Well, I mean, I already associated red with cyberpunk, or maybe that yellow electric blue thing they had for the game. Like the Chiron at the bottom of the screen. Yeah, can I change that color? I don't know. Like, similar to, that wasn't my choice. There's some defaults here. Like if I click on something, it defaults to this. Hold on, let's see. What if I do? There we go. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how to set that color because every time I log in and I click on the window, it defaults to, or the circle. If I hit the circle thing, it defaults to that purple. But yeah, that kind of purple, but it's like brighter and harsher than that. Yeah. But it's more blue than purple. Well, the thing that I had before, or anyway. But if you're traveling to North Carolina, you have friends to hang with. I've never been to North Carolina. So I have no current plans, but I'll keep that in mind. I bought Vampire Bloodlines 2 several years back. What? VB2? Oh, you must be talking about something else. Right? Played 4 hours of it last night. Oh, you mean pre-order when it. Okay, I got you. I understood. Okay. I bought Vampire Bloodlines 2 several years back and never canceled it. Right. And everybody that did that, I think, got everything in the deluxe package as a apology for the delay. Played 4 hours of it last night. Wasn't god-awful, but I was 100% considering enabling developer console to soup speed up running. That, again, like I mentioned, the playthrough I was watching, half the time the guy is speeding up the footage because he's having to wander around the city or up and down stairs or buildings and stuff more than interacting with anything. And, I mean, if there was more rewards for exploration or more reason to, make the city a playground of some kind, maybe it would make some sense, but it all seemed very linear. It all seemed very fetch quest, go here, talk to this person, do that. I don't know if there's any radiant activities to do in the game so much. I know that there are side quests, but they all seem very basic. But really the thing that struck me the most was the dialogue, some of the voice acting, and just how boring so much of it was. And it didn't feel or have that World of Darkness, sinister vibe to it, especially when you have to play as the detective. When you're forced to play as the detective and you're effectively Nick Valentine or Philip Marlowe going around doing your Humphrey Bogart act or whatever. It just didn't feel like I was existing in the World of Darkness. It felt more like I was doing a side quest in Fallout 4, where people were talking in lingo and styles that seemed archaic. Now there are flashbacks to 100 years ago or something in the city, but I think the bulk of the detective stuff was taking place within 2024, so it almost felt out of place. I don't know. Philip Marlowe got the chicks though. It's true. I'm not quite sure about how the character that you have to embody swings, but almost as long as development as Duke Nukem Forever. Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, as a fan of the first game and seeing how much development hell it was going through, I kind of hoped it wouldn't come out, as to not, be an albatross around the neck of the first game or its memory. But here we are. I know that they've released several visual novels and little games like that over the years using the 5th edition version of things as the basis. I played one game of it, Coteries of New York, over on my secondary channel. It's my only game playthrough I've ever done on YouTube, and it was poorly done. And not just like on a narrative level, because there was that too, but there was an invisible clock taking place in the game that if you didn't do certain things by a certain time, the game just ended immediately. And that hadn't been made clear to me, that if I didn't do certain things by a certain point or something, or in the way that the game required, that the game would just simply end before I could finish up other storylines or subplots. That was the most annoying thing ever. But anyway. I thought Cyberpunk was cyan, neon, black chrome, and mirror shades. Was that too? But I don't know. I just see that neon bright pink purple color on certain games and immediately tells me, is this a Sweet Baby Inc. joint or something? Or is this a progressive endeavor? I don't know. Anyway, that's enough on Vampire the Masquerade. I keep thinking about trying to run a game of good old Vampire online. Think about it. I'm scared of it. Not because I'm not familiar with the material, but because trying to organize people online in different time zones, different schedules and lives, and trying to keep a coherent play session and narrative and everything is a dicey proposition. So I kind of wanna, but I also don't know if it wouldn't turn into a mess pretty quick. And also, it's hard to tell sometimes if the people coming into a game have the mentality necessary to really contribute to a story. I'm a snob. What can I tell you? If you hadn't figured that out already, I don't know. I haven't been deceiving you. But anyway, guys, I've gone far off the ranch. That's all the news that I had. Let's see. Programming notes. I should have a DEI Death Watch show. I think I'm gonna move back to Mondays because Tuesdays, because of work considerations, are becoming more crowded recently. So tentatively, Monday at 12:30 p.m. Pacific, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. Next episode of DEI Death Watch. Take a look at what's going on in the wonderful world of DEI and its downfall and doubling downs. Outside of that, yeah, also, if I hadn't already mentioned, check out One Crime TV for true crime stuff from Mr. Black. Also check out Misery Machine. Also check out Matt Orchard. Also check out Dave's Lemonade. And Little Shop of Crime. If you want to hear one of the most soothing true crime voices out there that could almost make you forget you're listening to some horrible story of something happening, check out Little Shop of Crime. Steve has just a very soothing voice. Also, check out Let Him Cook. I said fam 2 cents in the last broadcast when it comes to Satsu's stuff. I was stuck in the past. Look up Let Him Cook, Satsu 2 cents, for his streams on commentary on things going on, live streams and elsewise. And also Oishi Fried Chicken. Look that up as well if you want some spices for your proteins, as it were. Anyway, everybody, that's the show. By the way, I should probably also, if you want to, you don't have to, but if you wanna, you might also join the Discord server. There's a link to the Discord server in the chat right now. If you'd like to join the Discord server, click on that link. You'll find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, you just have to say the secret word. The secret word will tell me that you're not a bot. Actually watch the stream and have thus earned the right, the privilege, the entitlement to join the Discord server. And today's secret word is La Sombra. Just say hello, La Sombra, and I'll know that you watched this show in particular. Outside of that, everybody, moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone here is so well behaved, you have very, very little to do. Everybody who donated either to myself or to the, let me get the, I'm on the opposite side. That over there, up there, at the top of the chat box. The link to the Leukemia Lymphoma Society donation page. Thank you guys so much for your generosity. Very much appreciated. Outside of that, everybody, thank you for joining me. Hope you have a good rest of your Saturday and Sunday ahead of you. I hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.